Greetings gamers, my name is Anto, and if like me, you've left all of your Christmas shopping until the very last minute, this is the video for you. This video is sponsored by Tales of Fablecraft, more on them later. So, this video is later than I had originally planned to make it this year, but in keeping with the spirit of last minute gift buy-in, I think it's appropriate. So today I want to talk to you about some gift ideas for the TTRPG enthusiast in your life. We're going to go through a list of some of the things that I have found throughout the year that I think are particularly interesting. There will be links down in the description below. Some of those will be affiliate links. If you purchase through them, you don't pay any extra, but I get a small kickback. I'm sure you know how this works by now. None of the individual recommendations beyond today's sponsor have paid to be in this list. This is all just stuff that I found that I think is worthy of being on the list. So let's dive straight into it. The first thing that I want to mention is this month's RPG Humble Bundle that is running until I believe December 19th. And this month they are covering Free League publishing and a variety of their games. So for about £15, you're going to be able to get a bunch of different systems, including Dragonbane, the Dragonbane core set, which I actually have a copy of up here.
Hello there.
In the new year. You'll get Mutant Year Zero, Tales from the Loop, Forbidden Lands, Twilight 2000, a whole bunch of Free League content in PDF form for like $15. It's an amazing deal filled with a ton of really highly regarded games. And if you're looking to get into a bunch of new systems or dabble in a bunch of new systems, absolutely one of the best ways to do it. And in that similar vein, the next thing that I want to suggest for you for this holiday season is a new starter set. So if you are looking to dip your toes into a new game, you should absolutely check out a new starter set for a system that you're interested in. Whether it's something like the Pathfinder Beginner Box, which I have talked about in this video up here, or the Dragonbane core set, which again, going to make a video on in the new year. Or you can pick up something like the Traveler Starter Pack if you're interested in a sci-fi system. This includes the Explorers edition of the rules, which covers a couple of different classes and will get you started in the game, as well as a couple of complete adventures to get you up and running. Before we dive into the rest of the list, I want to talk to you about another great option, which is today's sponsor, Tales of Fablecraft. I'm always on the lookout for new tools, new VTT options, and new games to try out, which is why I'm really pleased that today's video is sponsored by Tales of Fablecraft, because it's all of those things in one. Tales of Fablecraft is a new TTRPG that's built specifically for virtual tabletop play. It's a simple, easy to learn D6 based fantasy system set in the world of Mithras. It's currently available to pick up for free on Steam, is available on Windows, macOS, and iPad, and is getting full mobile support planned for next year. The core system itself is really easy to pick up and learn, making it great for introducing brand new folks or kids to TTRPGs, especially if you're trying to convince some of your video game playing friends to try TTRPGs with you. The custom VTT engine that Tales of Fablecraft is built on is visually really impressive. It's not overloaded with features or options, but the UI is really intuitive, and if you've ever played a CRPG, you'll get to grips with how to navigate the interface almost immediately. There's also built-in text, voice, and video chat, so you can host your entire session within Tales of Fablecraft, and they have a growing slate of homebrew tools to help you craft your own adventures in the world of Mithras. Tales of Fablecraft comes with a bunch of pre-made adventures that are ready to go, and this is actually my favorite part about it. Not only are they laid out to be easily run with basically zero prep work from the GM, which is exactly my jam, they come with animated art backgrounds for setting the scene, beautiful battle maps for all of your combats, custom soundtracks for each location, and some of them even include voiced NPC dialogue if you're a nervous first-time GM or want to run through these adventures solo. When I first started exploring Tales of Fablecraft, I found myself losing track of time and running through a big chunk of the Star Adventure solo just because the game does such a good job of creating an immersive environment for the players. If you're looking for a purpose-built VTT experience with gorgeous visuals and sound and want to lose yourself for a few hours in a bright, hope-filled fantasy world, check out Tales of Fablecraft using the link below, and thanks again to Riftweaver for supporting the channel. Next up, if you or the person you're buying for is a 5th edition player, you're probably going to want to pick up the new Player's Handbook or the new Dungeon Master's Guide. I've made videos on both of those just up here. Overall, they're a big improvement on what we got in 2014. It's very much still the 5th edition that you know and love, just built up a little bit more. But as we move into 2025 with the release of the Monster Manual on the way and the shift fully into the revised 5th edition rules, now is an ideal time to pick up one of those books. Or if you want something that feels like D&D but isn't 5th edition, my personal recommendation these days is Shadowdark. It's an old school vibe system built on kind of the core of 5th edition, so a D20 roll high with advantage and disadvantage, but it brings so much of the old school flavor that I personally really love. I've got a video coming up talking about Shadowdark in just a couple weeks, so if you aren't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button to check that out when it goes live. And speaking of videos, it'd be remiss of me not to take this opportunity to do a little shameless self-plug and say I have channel membership. So if you enjoy what I do here and want to support me and get even more content and dive into my homebrew world of Ishtar, get more deep dive, nitty-gritty world building content and the kind of stuff that just the general algorithm isn't going to enjoy, but that's really useful from like a micro world building point of view, then signing up for my YouTube channel memberships is a great option and the perfect gift. Next up on the list, we have fancy dice. Who doesn't love fancy dice? I don't have a specific recommendation for dice makers because there are just so many of them. Head over to Etsy or onto your favorite social media platform of choice and you will almost certainly find a indie dice maker making incredible stuff that you can support during this holiday season. I am personally a huge fan of sharp edge resin dice, especially ones with additives like liquid cores and like swirls and sparklies. I'm just like a magpie, really. I like shiny, brightly colored dice. And keeping on the theme of dice, some 3D printed accessories are always a great option. Things like a dice tower that you can pick up from Thingiverse for free. So if you've got a 3D printer, you could print off something like this, or a dice vault, so somewhere to store your fancy new dice in their own little custom coffin or dice tray, or a wide selection of miniatures to be able to print up and paint and use in your games. I personally used my 3D printer recently to print off a whole bunch of these Titan Forge Christmas tree ornaments, and then I painted them up and put them up on my tree when we put it up, and they look incredible. Then keeping on with the miniature printed theme that we've got going on, a paint set. If you are someone that is into miniatures or just dipping your toes into miniatures, or you're buying a gift for someone who has just picked up minis, then a paint set is a great option. My personal recommendation at the moment is probably the Army Painter Wargame Fanatic paint line. I've used a bunch of the Fanatic paints now and they've quickly become my absolute favorite paints of the last few years. They're super creamy and lovely to work with, and they have great coverage, and I will be getting a whole bunch more. I've got them on my Christmas list. And you can pick up a paint set that includes a selection of tones as well as a brush and a mini. So especially if someone's just dipping their toes, this is a great starting point for them. Another entry onto the list is, why not get yourself some custom leather goods? So I'm talking things like bracelets or custom book covers, keychains, anything that you can think of that works in leather. My favorite vendor for this is the Speechless Bard. They made the bracelet that you can see me wearing in pretty much every video, and I am actually due to buy a new one because this one is several years old now, and I would like to upgrade it and get a slightly brighter one that just doesn't read as so black on camera, something that pops a little more. But they make incredible stuff. They've got a wide variety of different bracelet options and covers for books, which are just gorgeous. And then the last suggestion I have for you is an art print. So if you are buying for someone that is a fan of fantasy and is a fan of gorgeous looking artwork, consider looking at the artists that make the cover art for some of their favorite RPG books. So look at the cover artists for some of the D&D books or Pathfinder books or anything like that, and see whether you can find art prints directly from those artists. It's one of the best way to support artists in the hobby at this time, and you can end up with something amazing looking on your wall. So those are just some of my suggestions for holiday gifts this year. I know I'll be using them to fill out the stockings for some of the people that I need to buy for this year. Let me know down in the comments below if you have any other suggestions for great last minute RPG related holiday themed gifts. And if you want to keep watching, check out this video where I talk about how to get into more games that aren't D&D. But until next time, happy gaming.